Hi everyone, I'm Chuck Barris. Don't go anywhere because Profiles will be coming right up.
Welcome to Profiles. I'm Marlie Hall. Today's guest is television icon Chuck Barris, creator and producer of such shows as The Dating Game, The Newlywed Game, and The Gong Show. Barris is also the author of several books, including Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, The Big Question, and his latest release, Who Killed Art Deco, a contemporary black comedy at its best. After a short break, we'll join our host Mickey Burns as he welcomes the talented Chuck Barris to Profiles. Welcome back to Profiles. In 1976, Chuck Barris stepped in front of the camera as the ringleader of the Gong Show, an improvised talent contest exclusively for the talent-impaired, whose performances were ravaged by judges Rip Taylor, Jaye P and Jamie Farr. It lasted 2 years and 4 more in syndication before an exhausted Barris pulled the plug. Today, Barris spends much of his time writing books. So let's join our host Mickey Burns on location from Ashford and Simpson Sugar Bar in the heart of New York City as he welcomes the legendary Chuck Barris to Profiles.
Chuck Barris, welcome to our show Profiles.
Good to see you, Mickey.
It's a pleasure spending some time with you today. My favorite show creator and producer, and one of my favorite writers as well, which is really keeping you busy.
It really is, yep.
And it's a love of yours, isn't it?
It is. I must be because I do it.
Yeah,
you know?
you sure.
I write.
The current release is a novel called Who Killed Art Deco. It's an hilarious whodunit that includes sex, money, and murder. So the only thing that I figure you left out is rock and roll.
Well, I had to leave something out.
Yeah.
That's my first mystery. I've never written a mystery before. And that's kind of an unusual situation, I think.
I think so, too. How long did it take you to write this book?
About 1.5 years.
I bet.
Something like that. And, it was a whole new experience.
Yeah.
You had to write backwards, so to speak. I had to find out who the suspects were, who try to hide the murder as best I could. Until the end. And all that stuff is pretty involved when you think about it.
I'm sure it would be. Did you lose a lot of sleepless nights where you wake up at 3 in the morning and say, oh, geez, I just thought of something?
I always do that.
I bet.
I mean, I wake up and say, wow, and then I write something down.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, it's a great book. And of course, they say that you should always write about what you know best. So tell, who was Art Deco?
Well, what I was trying to do was set up a situation in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Yeah.
That's where my wife is from. And I wanted to have a character who kept repeating and repeating, a Southern detective who was from the East in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And one thing led to another, and we got Who Killed Art Deco. Art Deco is from Bowling Green. He's the son of a rich entrepreneur of a conglomerate. His father owns a conglomerate, and so forth and so on.
Sure. In essence, what you've done in creating the character of Art Deco is really what I found him to be was every father's worst nightmare.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the way I viewed it.
That's about it. He is every father's worst nightmare,
sure,
I guess.
Because he did everything other than the prescribed path that his family had hoped for.
Well, also, he didn't like his father, which was mutual, I suspect.
Yeah.
And that was another problem that he had.
Sure. And Art Deco became a problem for his family, an embarrassment to his family, and then ended up murdered.
That's true.
And
He
that's the
did.
plot.
That is the plot. That's right. Who killed Art? That's the thing.
Right. And I'm not going to give it away, by the way.
That's good.
I'm not going to give it away.
Please don't.
Now your character development in the book is really strong, and in understanding that, I was just wondering, is that the key, character development, to writing a good novel?
Well, there's a couple of things. There's plot.
There is.
You got to do that. You have to have that plot.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe in strong characters. My last book had a bunch of strong characters in it. The Big Question, and I think that's important too.
Sure.
But I was told once, early on when I was just beginning as a writer, that I should always think of plot and plot it out, and I guess that's important too.
Right, because you spend a lot of time on character development, which
Yeah,
I thought was
do.
great, because I really felt I knew these characters. You don't often see that in a book. Now, also after reading the book, I said to myself, boy, this will make a great movie.
I agree.
And I just was wondering, when you're writing a novel, do you do so with that intent?
Well, not really. I just write the book and try to finish a book. The other stuff about whether it could make a good movie or not. The first book I wrote, called You and Me, Babe, producers in Hollywood wanted to make a movie of the book, and they had Natalie Wood lined up to play one of the girl character, so forth. And they offered me $185,000 for the book, for the rights to do the movie.
Sure.
I passed up on it and asked for $250.
Okay.
So they made Jaws instead. I learned then.
They're still showing that movie.
Yeah, I know. I learned then and there, don't mess around. If a guy wants to make a movie of the book, let him.
And take the money and run.
Take the money and run for the hills. That's right.
Now, the hero in the book is Jimmy Netz.
Right.
A hapless podiatrist from New York turned private eye.
Right.
He ends up solving this case that the NYPD couldn't. And it was his first case, by the way, which really, I thought,
kind of stretches it.
Yeah, he stretches
a little bit.
A little bit.
Not much. I mean, Jimmy, he thought it out.
He did. He did.
Gotta
from
give him
watching all
credit
movies.
for that. Yeah.
But he is the ultimate underdog. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
And ends up a big winner.
That's true.
And when I read that as well, I said, how much of this character, or how much of Chuck Barris is in this character?
A lot.
Yeah.
He was from Philadelphia.
Yep.
He was a podiatrist. I was never a podiatrist.
Right. Almost a dentist.
Almost. That's right. My father was a dentist.
Right, right.
I never looked highly on either one of those professions.
Right.
He married a Southern girl, which I did.
You sure did.
And they moved to. We haven't moved to Bowling Green, but although we have a house down there.
Sure.
And I was kind of thinking, maybe I could be a great Southern writer.
Yeah.
Eventually, and just live in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and write these wonderful novels, But
so instead, you have the Southern touch, and that's exactly what you did. Now, regarding writing, in an article you said, which I was a little surprised to read, you said writing is an atrocious way to spend your time. It really is. It's boring and it's just terrible. And when I read that, I just said, well, why then do you love it so?
It's a calling. I think myself that I really think it's a calling. It's something you have to do. Otherwise, why would you do it?
I guess.
I mean, I haven't the faintest idea. I mean, it's. Remember where I came from? I came from television with huge crews and staffs and stuff like that. And you're constantly in the middle of things. And now all of a sudden I became a very lonely, solitary writer.
And you're locked up in your den.
Locked up in my den, and beautiful weather. And why would you do something like that?
You got to be crazy.
You got to be crazy.
Okay. Now Frank Sinatra once said that there's a lot to be said about longevity. How do you account for yours?
Eat poorly, and get very little sleep.
And that's the way you live your life.
Well, I don't think so. I think the answer to that is marry a Southern wife and live happily ever after.
Very well said.